We are truly living in unprecedented times with the constant civil unrest, the social injustices, political stress, the device and discord in faith communities, having leaders and people in position and power manipulating the word of God to gain more followers, to gain more power. As we are standing and using our voice, how do we anchor ourselves in a place of peace and protect our mental and emotional well-being?
Some people hide from truth and from reality and call that righteousness. They are very comfortable talking about heaven, but not comfortable talking about earth. But a part of it is the false belief that for us to be liberated, you must be bound. I believe it is rooted in the idealization of the past. There are people who want our history to be our present and our future. It is a fragility, right, that does not allow feedback or criticism, and that takes criticism to be hatred.
I wanted something that I could watch that could say, oh, that's really how you identify purpose. Hey, let's talk about the journey.
I always say it, but I believe the greatest way to serve is to tell your story, and I'm humbled by the people that have said yes.
With all of that success, you're still responsible for the platform that God has given you.
Dr. Thema. Yes.
I love it.
What an honor and a privilege this is to be sitting with you today. Your work, your books, your podcast, your ministry has been a conduit of hope, transformation, and healing for so many around the globe, myself included. So I just want to take a moment and honor you in that and just thank you.
Thank you so much. I
Yes.
am excited to be here and instantly feel the sisterhood.
Oh.
So I'm grateful. Yeah.
So grateful. You are a graduate from Duke University, a
Yes.
clinical psychologist, a professor, a minister, podcast host, and the
Yes.
list goes on and on. You do an incredible job with illuminating and underscoring pathways to living a holistic life through our emotional well-being.
Yeah.
What led you to this line of work, and how did you know that this was a purpose that God was calling you to?
I love the question, and I'll give you my normal answer, and then I'll give you a deeper answer.
Sure.
So my usual answer has been I'm the daughter of a pastor, retired bishop. And so growing up, especially in the African American community, people would be more likely to reach out to their pastor than to a therapist. And so I grew up seeing my dad do pastoral counseling, and my mother as well, once she went into ministry. And people would often call our home when they were in crisis. So I say my first time working a hotline was as a child in the pastor's house.
I love it.
And even though my brother's 2 years older than me, if he answered and my parents weren't home and someone was crying, he would say, Thema, telephone. So growing up, I was always what would be called a sensitive child. So feeling things very deeply, easily moved to tears, which in some spaces could be a deficit, but in a therapeutic space is an asset. And so then I heard about psychology as a field in and of itself and said, that feels like me. So that is my usual story, and it is a true story. As an adult, I discovered that growing up, my mother had untreated, undiagnosed depression. And so I grew up in a house with a mother who was gifted, who was a prayer warrior, who was all of the things, but was also really suffering. And so I'm grateful to say as an adult, she ended up going to get therapy and getting help. And I'm grateful that she also started talking publicly about it because there is so much silence and shame around mental health.
Right.
And so both stories are my truth.
Especially in the Black community
Yes.
today, it's very hard to be able to be honest and transparent with the things that we are dealing with mentally and emotionally.
Yes, absolutely.
But I feel like we've come a long way.
Yes. And I'm grateful for that so many more people have gotten therapy, talk about mental health. I think a part of it has been people in leadership being willing to talk freely about it.
Yep.
And another benefit, I will say, is social media. While they don't always get the definitions right, there is. They're like calling everybody a narcissist. I'm like, come on.
It ain't that.
But it is great the ways we've been able to raise awareness.
Yeah, so good. I want to take a moment to talk about the state of the world for a second. We are truly living in unprecedented times with the constant civil unrest, the social injustices, the political stress, the device and discord in faith communities, having leaders and people in position and power manipulating the word of God to gain more followers, to gain more power. As we are standing and using our voice, using our voice for the voiceless, using our voice to speak up for the marginalized, using our voice to speak up for the least of these, how do we anchor ourselves in a place of peace and protect our mental and emotional well-being?
Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. It's necessary and it is sacred work. I think that some people hide from truth and from reality and call that righteousness. They are very comfortable talking about heaven, but not comfortable talking about earth.
Ooh.
And we've been positioned here at this time and in this place. And so when we are considering our purpose for relevance, right, that we are not supposed to just be eternally minded, but Rhema minded, like in set in this moment. And so 3 things I would center us on. One is love. So to say God is love, then in any space, in any time, I want to think about what does love have to say to this moment? And one of the phrases I love is, if it ain't love, it ain't God.
Come on.
Right? And so how does love respond to the crisis that we see? And a second part of it, in addition to the love, is truth. And God is not intimidated by truth. God doesn't hide the truth. God isn't mad when people speak truth. And so there has been, when you talk about politically, there has been a political move to make it illegal to talk about the truth of our nation.
Yeah.
And it's called unpatriotic to speak the truth. That is called divisive to speak the truth. And so we cannot heal what we will not acknowledge. It would be like if a sick person said, I'm healed, but I don't want you to test my body, right? But I'm healed, but don't test it. So the same thing about our nation, to claim we're healed, but not want to examine it, it really indicates an insecurity with looking at our truth. So love, and then truth, and then the third one I would say faith in action. And so in what ways are we being of service? And let me say, especially to people who don't share my identity.
Come on.
Because it's easy for me to love my twin, my reflection. But where does my love show up when someone has a different identity than me?
Yeah. Is there such a thing, especially in this toxic state that the world is in, that our nation is in, is there such a thing as agreeing to disagree?
I love the work of James Baldwin, and he has a quote that says, I'm going to not get it exactly right. He says, "We can agree to disagree as long as your belief does not question my right to exist." Right?
Break that down a little bit.
So what that means is some things are inconsequential. So you might say, like me, my favorite color is orange, right?
Oh, I love that.
And so some people, your favorite color might be purple. Okay, great. My favorite topic to talk about, one of them, is mental health. Somebody else is like, the key is the education system. Somebody else, the key is policy. And that's fine, because really to heal the world is going to be interdisciplinary. We need people doing all different things.
Sure.
So in that way, like, your path or your lane is not condemning my lane. It's just the way you think, what you think we should address first for transformation.
Right.
But then there are some differences of opinion which are about people's rights.
Yes.
So then if you don't believe my child has the right to education, or you don't believe that that person's child has the right to clean running water, you think that's inconsequential or less important than your rights and your liberation, then that's not just a difference of opinion.
Yeah. That's good. I want to go back to what you said about some of the nation doesn't want to necessarily examine themselves because of insecurities. Can you break that down a little bit more?
Yes. So, for example, when people from other countries or even from this country offer critique, then some people take that to mean you don't love us. And I invite us to think about that relationally, since I'm a therapist, right? So if you're dating someone or even you're married to someone and they have feedback for you, like they want to tell you something you did that was problematic or hurtful. But if your response to feedback is, don't say that, because if you say that, it means you don't love me, then how are you going to have a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship? So the same thing about the nation, that to say, if you love it, you should offer we call growth points, like some things that we could do better. People offer those because we believe we can be better and that we desire that. So it is a fragility, right, that does not allow feedback or criticism, and that takes criticism to be hatred. So if you believe that the marriage, the family, the nation, your city could be better, it is because you want growth for us, not because you hate us.
So do you think that it's rooted in fragility?
I believe it is rooted in the idealization of the past. There are people who want our history to be our present and our future. So this is a fundamental difference, right? If you believe that the 1950s was the best America had to offer, then that is a statement about what you believe about the rights of women, what you believe about the rights of people of color. So then we can't just agree to disagree because I did not have equal rights then. So what you are trying to protect and create, what to you is beauty, is to me tragedy. So then we're working for two different things, drastically different things.
How do we move forward from that?
Yeah. It is in part, there are layers to it, but a part of it is the false belief that for us to be liberated, you must be bound.
Say that one more time.
It is the desire to go backward is rooted in the belief that your liberation threatens my liberation. It is the idea that if women have a voice, that means you all are trying to silence men. That if people of color or immigrants have rights, that means you are threatening me. And that is what we call in psychology a false choice, right? It is a false dichotomy of which one of us will get to be free. And so the way we move forward is recognizing we can actually have collective liberation, that my freedom is not a threat to your freedom. It is an expansion of our ideas of real liberation.
Oof. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your wisdom on that and shedding a light on that. So the three things as far as protecting our mental and emotional well-being during this time you said was love, was
Truth.
And
Service.
service.
And I want to change the word service to empowerment.
Okay.
Because service implies that I have it to give and you don't have it, and that's going to be a perpetual relationship. But empowerment is creating an atmosphere for us all to flourish.
So good.
Right?
Yeah.
In my actions, in my policy, how do I create space for all of us to bloom? And I do want to add a fourth one.
Yes.
For those who are committed to working for change, transformation, betterment, is sacred rest.
Let's talk about the sacred rest.
Isn't it some real gaslighting to enslave people and then create the stereotype that they're lazy? How you come up with that? Some of the people who built the nation, that's the lazy people. And we have been so brainwashed, we believe we have to convince people it's not true by being so busy, by grinding, by hustling, by showing up for everything, signing up for everything. God said, you are already stardust. You are already sacred.
Yes. Tricia Hersey has a book, Rest as Resistance. And I think, understandably, those who are troubled by these times can make themselves work 24/7 because they're trying to save things and transform things. And what I like to say in response to that is, if we could fix our nation in a month, I would say, okay, nobody rests, right?
Sure.
Like, we don't need a nap.
Yeah.
We could knock this out and be done by next month.
Yeah. Let's sprint to the
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Sure.
But what we're talking about is a lifelong intergenerational marathon. And so then we have to have an approach that's sustainable.
Yes.
Right? Our own sustainability. In other words, I want us to live. And while we face outrageous times, outrage alone will not get us where we're trying to go. And so to give ourselves breath and ease, because the other thing I've discovered is when we are tired and when we are frantic, we don't do our best work.
Agreed.
Right.
Going into sacred rest for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's so funny. The other day, I knew that I needed a moment to rest.
Yeah.
I knew I needed a moment to pause. And I literally cleared my calendar for a day and a half.
Yeah.
Needed to be longer just to physically rest my body. However, my mind was still going. So I wasn't necessarily resting, and I just kept reciting. There's a song that I sing, silence the noise in my mind, Lord, silence the noise. And it wasn't really silencing. So what could you give us, or what are some pragmatic tools that could help us to be able to enter into that sacred rest, and especially our mental rest?
That's right. Beautiful question, and so necessary. So one, I would say, when my mind won't stop racing, at least let my body rest. Because sometimes, since our mind is racing, then we just get back up and we go do more work, right? And so to allow my nervous system to breathe, to allow myself to lay down, to be able to take a bubble bath, then I'm getting a partial rest, right? So to at least give myself that. The other piece is to journal or talk about the things that I'm avoiding. Because what happens is some of us cope, and this had been my, kind of past story, cope by staying busy. And so if you're busy all day, by the time you lay down, now your mind is like, finally, I can think about all the things you wouldn't let me think about.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, no, like be blank.
Right.
And so the way to not do that is during my waking time, let me journal or let me talk to my loved ones about the things I've been avoiding, so that when I'm ready to rest, I can actually rest.
Ooh, that's so good.
Yeah.
In this season of Now with Natalie, we've been touching a lot on rejection. And as we know, we all deal with rejection in one way or another, whether it's rejection in the industry that we work in, our marriage, our relationships with our kids, heartbreak, heartache. And as we know, it could definitely take a toll on our identity and our worth and the way that we see ourselves. I want to know what happens when we leave that rejection wound unattended.
Beautiful. So the first thing I want to say about rejection, and I'm at this point answering it socially or relationally, that in my way of thinking, self-love is insufficient. Let me explain, right?
Sit down.
Because we often put down people who are lonely. And I think it's very harmful and hurtful. When people who have been rejected and are feeling lonely, often the response is, you just need to love yourself.
Right.
And being lonely doesn't mean you don't love yourself, right? Loneliness is, I desire deeper connections than I currently have. And for us to honor that, right? That in sacred teaching, a part of it is community. A part of it is connection. So the first thing I would just offer around rejection and loneliness is to not judge or shame yourself or others for having those feelings. It's a very human thing, right? To desire the connection. And so then to get to your question of, if that doesn't get attended to, if that doesn't get healed or nourished, what's the consequence of that? Often it leaves us hungry. Hungry for attention, hungry for affirmation, hungry for validation. And we can do some destructive things when we're hungry, right? When I'm hungry, I will accept crumbs and call it a feast because I'm hungry. And so we can think about, in friendship and romantic relationships, when are the times we accepted less than we were deserving of because of our unmet needs and desires. Another thing that happens is we start to medicate that pain or that wound with other things. So what is that? Constantly doom scrolling on my phone, watching a whole marathon on Netflix, right? Because I'm trying to feed the need. Food, right? We are, a lot of people are eating at night, not because we're hungry, but because we're lonely,
Wow.
right? More substance use
Sure.
as we're trying to medicate that pain.
Do you believe insecurity is a fruit of rejection?
Yes, it can definitely come from rejection. And when it does come from rejection, it's important that we meet that with grace and compassion and understanding, because sometimes people are like, you just need to love yourself again. And I remember a powerful moment with a client who was talking about how especially it's hard to date in LA. So she was talking about kind of like the ideal look of like what is beautiful, what is attractive. And, when I started with kind of the usual piece of like affirming and loving yourself, she said to me, now, Dr. Thema, what does it matter if I think I'm beautiful if no one else agrees?
Oof. Whoa.
Right?
Yeah. Wow. Yikes. Okay.
Right? So we have
That's
to.
deep.
That's deep.
That's deep.
Right? Because
Yes.
I could say all day, like, I love my this, I love
Right.
my that. But if I desire connection and no one else is feeling that about me, then it can feed that insecurity. And I think then it's important that we acknowledge that we don't pretend that it's just in your mind, right? So that's a part of feminist or womanist therapy is, let's say a client comes in who has issues around body image. Like traditional psychology would call it like a cognitive distortion, right? That your thinking is off because you don't embrace your body. But from like a feminist or womanist or social psychology, we would say, of course you don't. Like you've been bombarded with messages your whole life. The billboards, the commercials, the ads, not to mention on the dating apps. Like there is a reason why you don't feel comfortable in the body you're in. And it's not just that you have bad thoughts. Right?
Right.
So then we can give ourselves more compassion to know it is a revolutionary thing to live in this society and to be able to love yourself. Right? To know that took effort. After all the comments that were made about your hair, your nose, your hips, so for you, it requires like an active pushing back. That I know I am not the image that is traditionally upheld, and yet I am making a decision to love it and to celebrate it.
And that takes work.
It takes work daily.
Daily
Yes.
work. Encourage yourself.
Yes.
Your book, The Matters of the Heart. As we know, everything that we do, or I believe everything that we do, comes and flows from our heart. And there's a lot of things that I've discovered about myself in therapy, certain behaviors that I'm not so proud of, proclivities and propensities that I've either gained through generational patterns, generational trauma, and or just specifically learned behavior. But I want to take a moment and talk about how do we identify the weeds that are in our heart. How do we know that there's certain things that are in our heart that we need to address, that we need to uproot? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's so good, because as you're saying, we can't heal what we don't acknowledge. And because we're with ourselves, sometimes we don't see our own dysfunction. So I'm going to take it two ways. One is recognizing the pattern, meaning if in every one of my relationships or most of my relationships, certain themes or feedback or issues keep coming up, then the common denominator is me. Right? So an example I'll give is some of us will say, everybody's selfish, everybody's a user, I'm tired of these one-sided relationships. And so what I would say is, if every one of your friendships have been one-sided, how are you contributing to that dynamic?
Right.
Right? Because there are ways that we can co-create dynamics in relationships. It may mean that I'm drawn to people who need me because then I feel important and valuable. Right? So then there are people you could be friends with who would sharpen you, who would meet you at your level. But what is it about those people you find intimidating? Right? What is it about those people that you don't pull them close?
Right.
Like people who all their friends are mentees. I'm like,
Right.
no, that's all you like. You don't have
Exactly.
any peers.
Yes.
So,
And what
then-
does that say about that
Yes.
person? You know?
Yes.
So you pretty
absolutely.
much just want yes people around
Exactly.
you? Yes.
Exactly. So look at your patterns. Whatever your thought is about everybody this, everybody that, is there a way you're co-creating that? And then another thing we can do, there's something called a cognitive triangle. And this isn't the end all and be all of psychology, but it's a tool.
Sure.
And it's basically looking at the connection between thoughts, feelings, and behavior.
Okay.
So if you're trying to identify what's in your heart, then you could work backwards by, what did I do in that moment? So for example, if you say, yesterday I went off on somebody, right? That's a good behavior to
Right.
examine.
That's okay. That's okay. Right.
So I went off on them. What was it I was telling myself, and how did that make me feel? Right? So then I'm getting at the core thought that led me to act in that way. Yeah.
Wow. So would you, like in those moments, is it okay to go off on certain people?
Right.
Is it more of looking at the why you're doing it?
Yes. It is. One of the things I would offer people is slow down. Because often when we feel out of control, we're running in an automatic mode. So something has triggered me and I feel I must respond right now at level 10, and I would offer to that person, or what? Right? Because if the person does deserve me to tell them off, they're going to deserve it 2 minutes from now, 5 minutes from now, 10 minutes from now. So I can take a pause before I press send on the email. Right? If it's true now, it's going to be true an hour from now.
Yes.
So
yes.
let me just take breath
Sure.
and check in with myself
Sure.
about is this what I want to say? And is it how I want to say it? And what am I hoping will be the outcome?
Right.
Right? Because sometimes we sabotage ourselves because we're wanting an outcome, but then we are working in a way that prevents the very thing we want. Right? So our own reflection, we can take pause for. And then I hope you would have some people in your wisdom circle, right? Some people whose opinion you trust, who they're not haters,
Right.
They love you.
Yes.
Right?
Want the best for
Yes, yes. So, I have my besties that I could call, and sometimes I'll already start laughing because I know I'm about to be
you.
ridiculous.
Right. Yes. But they'll get you right.
Yes. they'll get-
Yes.
And sometimes they're like, nope, go for it. So it's not people who are just always going to mute you, but just to have that reflection of is this really what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
in this moment?
Iron sharpening iron.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is there ever a need to go off? Certainly. Is it ever justified? Certainly. But not all the time and not in every way.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I am someone who deals with an anxious mind.
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah.
I can get in these constant loops in my mind and have the propensity to overthink certain things that I don't need to overthink.
Yes.
And there's moments where I can take the thought captive right away and I know that it's a lie. Then there's other moments where I'll agree and I'll just write this whole narrative in my head and start believing it, even though maybe it is not true. For the ones that are anxious or deal with anxiety, there's a few things I want to unpack here. But first, what does that say about the soil of our heart?
Yeah. So anxiety is largely a fear of lack of control, right? So it is me trying to predict outcomes so that things can go well for me, which when we look at it that way, it's understandable, right? It's like, I want a good outcome. Like, it's not a terrible thing that I want a good outcome, but often what it gets rooted in is I have had experiences in my past where I was not in control and things didn't go well.
That's really good.
Right?
Yeah.
So then that intensifies it. So often, here's this big word, but we'll have catastrophizing. So that when I am a survivor of that, whatever form it took, then I live with vigilance, I live on guard, and I live anticipating the worst, which is draining.
Exhausting.
Oh my God.
It is
That's why we needed
exhausting.
that sacred rest.
Yes, that's why I asked about the sacred rest.
Because our nervous system was not created to live on guard. Right? We're supposed to kind of live here, and then when things happen, I can rally myself. But when I am perpetually anxious or vigilant, then I'm like living at level 10.
Yeah.
And so, a part of, there are a couple of different strategies. One of them is somatic. So soma just means the body. And so when I live with anxiety, I'm often not breathing deeply. Right? And I love you just took an exhale.
Just take one. Because honestly, sometimes I really truly forget to breathe.
Absolutely. I know what that feels like, what it looks like, because we're tense. We're holding ourselves, bracing ourselves. And I can't operate in my wisdom when I'm panicked.
Cannot.
Right? And so a compassion hold, one of them is like one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart, and you just inhale in through the nose, exhale out through the mouth. And then embracing yourself, because some of us haven't had a hug today. It's going to be the first hug, but I got good hugs from your team and from you. So inhaling in through your nose, exhaling out through your mouth. So those are ways we can just soothe ourselves and calm ourselves. And then a cognitive way to do it, a thought way to do it is go ahead and imagine worst case scenario and then imagine yourself outliving it. Right? So it would be like, let's say you were up preparing for the interview.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, worst case scenario, if I don't get the perfect questions or don't get them worded just right, it's like, what would happen? Like, we might have a moment of dead air and then your people will edit it out.
Right. Totally.
So then let me just go to sleep. Yeah.
Let me rest.
Yes.
Let me rest.
Yes.
How do we decipher between a lie and a truth in our mind?
So, sometimes we can look at evidence, but I want to give a caution there. Let me say looking at evidence. Sometimes we speak in generalities, and so it's everyone this. So, for example, everybody hates me. Everybody thinks I'm a joke. no one takes me seriously. So then I search for evidence of the opposite. Is there anyone who has ever taken me seriously? Right? It could be one person. My third grade teacher said I was a good writer.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
So it helps us to chip away at the everybody and the nobodies.
Yeah.
And then I do want to say, for there are those of us who don't have evidence of good things, right? So then, like, what do I do with that? Is for me, I think of it as a faith walk. Can I believe for what I have not yet lived?
Come on. That's really
So,
good.
right? Let's say everyone you have ever dated cheated on you and treated you terribly. So then you're like, I have all of the evidence that like I am like all the evidence says I'm unlovable. So now can I tap into a sacred truth that I'm deserving of good love even if I have yet to experience it?
Yeah.
And I would say, yes, you are.
So I want to sit there for a second
Yeah.
and then switch gears a bit about, so say if, like you said, the evidence there or the incident is if everybody cheated on me, am I willing and able to be loved? How do you repair those trust issues and those betrayals as you are entering into new relationships?
So good.
Platonically,
Right?
or even if it's romantically,
Yeah.
if you are someone that has been in toxic relationships constantly, how do you reframe your way of thinking coming into those relationships and trust?
So good. So when bad things have happened many times, our mind, our eyes, our nervous system is trained to look for the red flags. Right? So it's like, oh yeah, the last time somebody told me they were staying at work late. Yeah, that was a big lie.
Right.
So people who work late are cheaters.
Yep. Right. That's
So instead of, first give yourself credit because you learned the lesson of some red flags. But then I encourage people to start looking for green flags. Right? To start noting what's different in this moment instead of immediately lumping somebody in with the X's. Like, how did this start different? How am I different? How do they respond to my feelings differently? So look for the green flags.
So how do we, just really define the default system of constantly knowing, like, I'm going to look for the red flags. Oh, there it is.
Right.
But do you feel like if we see more green flags, that
It
will
helps
then...
it helps to communicate to me that this can be different, right? Now, it doesn't mean I'm ignoring the red flags because some people start ignoring, but it just means like that's my automatic is to see the red. Okay, do I see any green?
Yeah.
Anything in this that lets me know that this could be a healing, transforming relationship.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
So good.
Boundaries.
Yes.
I just learned how to use them probably in the last year because I was a people pleaser.
Yes.
I was someone that was worried about what people thought. I was more so concerned about their feelings as opposed to protecting my own peace.
Yes.
However, just as though you were saying earlier how some of us can abuse the therapy words on social media, I think that we as a generation can sometimes abuse boundaries because we're either coming from a wounded place, like, oh, I'm good, I don't really want to mess with them, and so I'm just going to put a boundary up. So how do we know when our wound is leading us to set a boundary and when our discernment is leading us to set a boundary?
I love that. So good. So good. And and it is practice, right? It is a practice. So a part of it when we think about relationships require communication. And so if you are my friend or my partner, and there is a rupture, then my wound is telling me run, right? It's like, I don't like how, I told you my good news and you didn't look happy. So that's my boundary.
Right. I'm out of here.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. But relationship gives opportunity for communication. Now, if somebody's heart is off, if their spirit is off, a conversation is not going to change the fact that their heart is off. And so then I can communicate. I can see that nothing is shifted. And then I may set my boundary, right? But when my boundary never allows for conversation, then I'm likely being driven by my wound.
Say that last part one more time.
Yeah. When my boundary does not give space ever for communication and conversation, then it's likely being driven by the wound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Lastly, how do you take care of your emotional and mental well-being on a daily basis?
Yes. So I like to start my day with what I call devotions. Not everybody's familiar with the terminology, but what I discovered is it's helpful to have morning ritual, because if I set my alarm for the time I need to get going, then I have already started my day anxious. Right?
Yep.
If the alarm goes off and I need to jump out of bed and jump in that shower or hurry up and eat, now I'm already frantic. And so I encourage people, and what I do is wake up before I have to get up.
Okay.
Right? So that I can have some leisure in my day, some sacred time in my day. So that might look like prayer or meditation. It might look like reading sacred texts. It might be listening to inspirational music or worship music, so that when I show up to spaces, I'm already full, right? I'm not coming empty, needing the environment to feed or affirm me. If it does, that's a plus. That's icing on the cake, but I'm not empty. Yeah.
That's good. I did say lastly, but I feel led to ask this question about people that are waiting on a breakthrough.
Yes.
If it's a financial breakthrough, if it's a breakthrough in their marriage, in their careers, how is our emotional well-being connected to us getting or receiving a breakthrough?
So one of the first things that come to me with that question is to have enough ease, faith, and flexibility to recognize the breakthrough when it comes in a format you were not expecting. So sometimes
That's it right there. Because we like it the way
we like it the way we like it. So sometimes, and people say, be specific in your prayers, but sometimes we're really trying to dictate to God what is best for us. So then I might be thinking, my breakthrough is that job. My breakthrough is that man, right? My breakthrough, is that house on that street. And then I may miss my blessing because it showed up in a way I was not expecting.
Ooh. So position ourselves to be flexible.
Yes, I have a beatitude that I wrote, which is, blessed is she who is flexible because she is not easily stressed out.
That's good right there. That is good right there. We can end on that. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you.
It was such an honor and a privilege.
loved
Like I
it.
said in the beginning, I could go on and on and on with you. This was selfishly for me.
Love
Also,
it.
I know it will bless so many. So just thank you. And I'm praying as you continue to do this work, that whatever your hands touch, that you will prosper the things and the hearts that you have, the things that are desired in your heart will come to pass. And I'm just covering you, woman of God. Continue to go and continue to fight the good fight. So thank you for who you are.
Thank you. I received that with gratitude and right back to you.
Thank you so much.